Good afternoon, everybody, and a very warm welcome to QuickBooks Labs. Now, is it me or is that intro way too loud? Or is it just my end? It seemed to blow my speakers off compared to what everyone else is going to do. But anyway, enough of that shenanigans. My name is Aaron Patrick, and it's a very warm welcome to today's podcast. This is QuickBooks Labs, and we believe we are the best QuickBooks podcast UK-based in the whole of the UK. We may only be the only one, but we're the best. We've got a lot to talk about today, but first of all, let's go through the room and let people introduce themselves. We have, and I'll just start off on the right of me, and as I see. So, Jan, do you want to introduce yourself? Who are you? Why are you here?
Good afternoon, everyone. Johan from On Point Accounting, or Client Engager, or Ask the Accountant podcast, also a member of the QuickBooks Council. Here to talk all things QuickBooks as per usual, Aaron.
Looking forward to it. Charlie, who are you? Why are you here?
I am Charlie Khan, accountant in West London, also on the QuickBooks Accountants Council. There's a theme going here. Ready to talk about everything exciting that's new this month in QuickBooks.
Awesome. And we have a new member of QuickBooks Labs, hopefully forever, hopefully going forward, but we love to introduce you. Oh, we got sound effects as well. Look at that.
Sound effects. I want that every week now.
Simon, would you like to explain to yourself who you are, why you're here, and what's your background in the world of QuickBooks?
So I'm Simon Woodhams. I work for Moore Kingston Smith in London, and I lead our digital software advisory team. So I've been dealing with QuickBooks since they came to the UK, and again on the strategic council with Aaron, Johan, Charlie, and so I'm here to talk all things tech as well as QuickBooks, right? And that's me in a nutshell.
Love it. It's almost like we recruited everyone from the Accounting Council, isn't it? I mean, it's worked out well.
Or did Intuit recruit us all from this podcast?
Do you reckon? Oh, it could be. Could be. All right, let's get rid of the normal bump that we talk about. So we have a cracker in store for you today, and let's figure out how this all works. First of all, we are live on these microphones around the world, and the time is 4:30 in the UK. So if you are listening back at a later time, maybe on one of the podcast services of your choice, or on one of the YouTube channels or any of the other social media platforms we're on, then why not think about joining us live? Now, normally we go live first. Is it first? Yeah, first Wednesday of each
every month.
Around that time at 4:30. I think the best thing to do is just follow us on socials. You'll see when we're going to post, and then try and join us as best you can, just like Kirsty has. And Kirsty says, "Hi everyone. Yes, it's loud. Thought it was just me." I thought it is broken, isn't it? It's definitely broken, the intro. So we'll keep it going from there. So what agenda we got today? Well, we've got a bit of quick news that's happened. There's not too much. It's January. I didn't expect to have too much going through. But then we thought, well, let's bring some topics to the table and chatter around them, especially the fact that we've got new hosts to talk through as well. So we're going to talk about our predictions for the year, what we expect to see from QuickBooks. We're then going to talk about receipt capture and the current state of it and what we think of it. And if we've got time at the end, we're going to have a look at a bit of a geeky dive into the whole world of basis and changing year ends and how that's going to work and predictions and everything going forward on that one. Right. So first of all, let's talk about all the new stuff that's happened in the world of QuickBooks. And again, there's not been too much. Some of these updates more important than others. I believe by looks of it, they're just trying to get a nice little UI out there, nice and clean and tidy, ready to go forward. So first bit of update that we've got is to our beloved dashboard. So you'll notice that the dashboard now has all been condensed. We don't have, was it business view and an overview at the top? We now have one dashboard to rule them all, as you can see on screen here. And then everything's all been condensed. Now, personally, I love this option of having this update here. It gives us an opportunity to not have to jump between the two, and we can make sure that the information that our clients need is in front of them. But also it's given us an opportunity to finally, when we go on custom layout, we can add and remove widgets. And now there are a few more widget options in here that we had before. So we can turn on mileage or expenses, and they have promised us there is more to come soon on the old widget front. And then the idea is then that when we go through, we can still move them around, put them here. We've had our fancy new app widget we've had for the last 6 months. We've got our new mileage widget, which is going to be really useful for accountants just to see if people have been using the mileage tracker or not. And those options are going to be there. So what do we think, people? Like, not like? It's a small update. What do you think? Go on, Simon. You're new. You get to go first.
I love it. No, I like the condensing of everything into one place. Like that was always going to happen because we've got a lot of clients on QuickBooks, and you could end up with 3 different menus across 3 different clients, and it was not the greatest experience in the world. It's there on that one, and it's different somewhere else. So bringing everything together, that customized layout thing. I know we've said about we're going to hold back what we want predictions wise, but that could be quite a big thing if from what we've seen, being able to, on the dashboards and things like that, building your own KPIs and all that sort of stuff. That if that comes into there, then I can see that working even better than it already does.
Yeah, completely agree. Charlie, what's your thoughts?
I've got to be honest, I can't remember the last time I ever used the dashboard. And I hardly ever use it. I really, really don't use it very much. I have the reports that I like, that I build for myself, that I customize, and that I create for clients to look at.
Yep.
Some of them may look at the dashboard, but they've never commented to me on what they like or dislike about it. Maybe I should use it more. Maybe. I mean,
I personally love the dashboard. I try and encourage my clients to use it. Just the idea of having the bank accounts here, obviously, is so powerful. But we also try and put like corporation tax estimates in if we can for clients. We try and put the director's loan account here, so keep an eye on it. So, yeah, it's trying to encourage clients to be a little bit more or use the data in front of them. Right, that's what it's about.
More so when the clients are doing the bookkeeping, I think.
Yes,
we look at this more. Whereas if it's internal, I don't think it is as important. If the client's doing some element of that bookkeeping, then this sort of homepage for them is quite key, I think.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Most of my clients don't. Most of my clients, they just do their sales invoices, and we do almost everything else for them. So
you wouldn't need. I mean, the dream would be that we had some way of interacting with this task, almost like setting the task they need to do or something. That would be great. Yeah, and what's your opinion on the new dashboard?
Yeah, no, I love it. Just do me a favor, hit privacy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. My only issue here is if we undo privacy, why do we need to make the shortcuts bit private?
You can't let people know what shortcuts you've got.
That is a bug, definitely.
Just a minor bit, but no, overall, I absolutely love it. I love the fact we can customize the layouts and stuff. Kirsty has said in the comments, is it just me or does it forget? I think we have to remember, and the frustration parts here are that we have to do this for every single client. Doing it for one doesn't cover everybody.
Yeah.
But also it relies on your cookies to remind it where to put stuff. So if you've just wiped your cookies, you've just wiped all your hard work. So I wouldn't put too much effort into reorganizing it all and getting too sensitive about it. But it's very useful. And to be fair, even if we take away that whole customize the layout bit, I think it's cleaner. I think it's smarter. And the fact that when a client rings and says, where do I find this? I can go, well, it's on your dashboard, and they're not looking at a different dashboard to me. That makes life so much easier.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was odd.
That was one of the biggest things, wasn't it? Having different things between accountant and business. It's like, oh, we just go here, and like, oh yeah, that doesn't exist here. Or they'd say, oh, we've gone here, and it's like, well, we don't have that option. Or you'd have to go into the menu.
Terminology's changed.
Switch to accountant view or switch to business view, and it's just a little bit of an extra click that wasn't really required, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was always strange when they split the dashboard anyway. I didn't know what they were trying to achieve there. When we had, because it didn't matter if you're accountant or client, you would go in and there was 2 tabs at the top here. I know now cash flow planner's there now, which just whatever, that's a new place for it. But when it was a dashboard for the client, then a dashboard for the business, or I don't know what they were trying to achieve there. So I agree with you, like having it all on one page just makes more sense, and it opens a door with that custom layout for some funky things coming forward, doesn't it?
Yeah. No, I think it's cleaner, it's smarter, it feels more modern and less cartoonish, shall we say? Yeah. You remember when QuickBooks felt very cartoony almost and unprofessional? Like they were obviously aiming for the small business owner, and actually a lot of accountants were saying, oh, I don't like it. It doesn't feel like a professional tool. That's why I use Xero. But yeah, no, I'm really liking this upgrade. And I've not seen any major upset in social media is that this change has upset anyone too much.
That's a first,
it might be, it might be come back to what Tri was saying. You don't use it unless the client's using it.
Yeah.
And
really
most
think
They
people
haven't rolled it out to everybody. I mean, I've just been hunting around a few of my clients while you've been talking, and I've just gone through 5 clients. Only one of them has got the new layout.
Oh, really?
Well, maybe it's a phase and they've not quite finished.
It is, I think they are phasing it, which makes sense because you don't want to do it all in one go. Because things go bad if everything gets done in one go usually.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, the other update I've got, and I've just got to be careful when I've just got to get the screen so I can share it without giving away too much sensitive information. I'm not sure.
Get ready for GDPR, folks.
I expect this to come to no shock because I was expected to happen, but our whole team area has changed in the QuickBooks QBOA area, and I'm a bit confused to why. So they've brought it in to be very similar to how the new user interface looks like in the accounts, which fine, completely. I like unification. I like that a lot, but we've now lost functionality. So maybe you guys never used it, but we used to have the option to put a role next to it. So you could have Joe Blogs and you put their email address. You could put just a little bit of something there. Now, I found that really useful.
Like a job title.
Yeah. But what we used it for was we would put it in to say, make sure it had the word say team in, so that if I ever added a brand new client, instead of going through individually ticking each person, I'd write the word team in, and then up would pop the people I know would need to have access to that team. And you can be really savvy about what that word is. But when you add in new clients, that means that you could add them by role almost and get them in. Now, I don't seem to figure out how we can do that in this new one. We have all these fancy new roles. It means we can be a bit more, we can be a bit more restrictive to what our team members can see of our own books if we're using our own books. That's nice, isn't it? That's a nice little update and everything else. But I find it now harder to add clients, or when it's the other way around, when you've added a client to then add team members in. That seems to be now more restrictive than I had before. Anyone use this new version? What do you think of it? Am I being overreactive?
I know what you mean about the job titles, and I think we've got a couple of people who might have put them in, but we've not bothered. The big one is the custom role. If you selected that one before, what's the point of it? was our biggest interest. It's like, well, what is custom? Like, it's all the same stuff you'd normally get.
But you can edit that, can't you, to be custom to your firm?
But it's no different to standard access. So there was no difference. And I know it's obviously linking back. It's obviously coming through from a QuickBooks Advanced sort of thing of having that granular, more granular use rights.
Has Simon just hit the point here, though? This has changed because all QBOA accounts now are advanced accounts.
Are they advanced now, or are they moving to at some point?
If they're not there now, they're well on their way.
Okay.
So I spotted it the other day. We've now got the budget section and stuff on the side. So we've obviously moved to the advanced tool.
Yeah. Looks like mine has as well. I don't use my QBA.
We don't use it.
I pay for my license.
But I'm going to put it out there. I think you're on the edge case, you're a fringe case, Aaron, of using the job titles.
Okay.
The only other thing I ever, like, we always put a job title in, but the only other thing I ever really noticed with it is my inconsistency of job titles. Like, that's the only thing I really spotted, because unless in a very practical case like you've just come up with, for the majority of users, I'd say it was a dead data.
Yeah,
it was a dead cell because no one was looking at it. It didn't power anything. It didn't. If it was a drop down saying bookkeeper and that automatically assigns certain permissions, or accountant and that assigns certain permissions, or payroll and that assigns certain permissions, then I kind of understand that concept.
Yep.
But why it's a blank text failed, that didn't pull into anywhere, did it? It didn't create a placeholder that filled information to emails or anything like that. Which means I imagine they've looked at the heat maps and gone, no one's using that apart from Aaron. Sod it.
Yeah.
So for you guys then, if you were to add a new client in today, do you literally go through just individually ticking who you want to see that client?
Yes.
I blanket, like, because I just give everyone access to every client, because if I don't, at some point I'm going to be really busy or in and out of meetings, and someone's not been able to do work because they've not got access to a client which they've suddenly jumped onto. And it's like, my team aren't going to go in and out doing malicious things, and if they do, we've got an audit tracker to track that. So I don't see why none of my team should see any of my clients.
Okay, makes sense.
We're on the opposite. Only people that have we working on that job. So when a client gets onboarded, they'll be given to a set team of people.
Yeah.
So they're the ones that get access to it. And if someone else needs access to it, we have a whole ticketing system that they have to raise a ticket, and someone in my team will deal with it.
Fair enough.
But just so that it's more restricted on who can see from a data perspective, especially like audit and things like that. Like when people leave.
When you're dealing with the size of businesses you're dealing with, there's probably more of a need. When you're dealing with a local window cleaner,
he doesn't care.
Probably. What are you going to do?
How new is this change? Because I've only just noticed this. I noticed the change before within a company file as to who has access when you add users and all that. So that changed some time ago. But within QBOA of changing what my team has access to, I've not seen this before. So I'm looking now. You mentioned it. And
I don't think you've missed it by miles, Charlie. In this occasion,
I
think
I can't have done because I can see that some of them have got standard no access, which means they can't do certain things. So I don't, and they'd have rung me if they couldn't do stuff.
But remember, this is only restricting access to your QBOA file. So it depends if you use it or not.
Yeah.
So at the bottom left-hand side.
They don't use nobody uses my QBOA file but me.
Yeah. So that's it. That's what they get access. When you're giving them access to on from, it's what they can see in the your book section down the bottom here on the screen.
When I go into editor user of my team, it's his name, his email.
And it's what they can see in the your book section. So as I'm showing on screen, Charlie.
I have to say, that's not clear. I imagine that would be what they could access. It's that I think they should write on the screen that this section only applies to, because I can imagine a lot of people thinking, oh my God, they've got no access, giving them access, and suddenly their staff are seeing all their confidential firm information. That had not even occurred to me. Luckily, I hadn't changed it.
I think one thing that would be good to add there, though.
Go for it.
Is the access with Practice Manager.
Yeah, because it's completely different, isn't it? You have to go into Practice Manager and then
say for instance, you were a user of our practice, and where you never even knew Practice Manager existed, but you went in that accountant tool and clicked Practice Manager. You automatically get access to Practice Manager and you're added in there.
Yeah.
So segregation of if one team is using Practice Manager, for instance, and the other team aren't, but the other team can have access to that, it's a bit odd in that respect.
Yeah, that's also because the roles do need to kind of merge together anyway. Because at the moment, because they're two separate entities, you could add them to Practice Manager on one, restrict them access to a client on another, and then they can see everything in that practice management anyway. So you're right, the two need to agree to kind of work together. So it was just, I thought that was a bigger deal than it was, but obviously no one uses roles, so who cares? Going forward though, we've never mentioned it as well, but there's a brand new search functionality coming up here. Just gives you more screen real estate than anything else. I don't think it's a major there's no more functionality here than it was before, other than you get the opportunity to kind of pick between transaction contacts and reports. But nothing else to say on that one, is there? Or have I missed anything? Is there more functionality in there that people should be aware of?
I feel that using that tool, it's now more successful. More often, it's more successful than it was. So the number of times I could put a customer name in there or an invoice number in there, and it would come back with nothing. But now,
the other thing to search it again, wouldn't it? Yeah. Now it's a bit more.
Now it seems to be more successful with the search results.
Yeah, agreed. I think there's definitely, it's better, isn't it? I still think the invoice number is still not 100% every time, but maybe it's just every time. Maybe it's just a use case and it'll get better.
I think there's especially if they use like INV space dash space number or IMV dash number. So if you just put the number in, it's more successful. If you start putting in like the IMV and then you get the spacing wrong, it breaks it.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay, cool.
I've been using, for most of my searching, I use that lovely thing, Write tool, which I've talked about before on this podcast, which does it so much better. But maybe QuickBooks will catch up to that.
Yeah, no, sounds it. Right then. Okay, so the only other updates that I've got are where have I done my little page of updates? So we've got a revenue recognition has had a bit of love in the US, so that should be coming to UK soon. We played around with revenue recognition when it first came out, not touched it all that much since, but they are looking to bring adjustable pricing and dates into it, so that it's not one. At the moment, the problem is that once you've set it, it's almost like that's it. There's nothing else you can do with it. Now you'll be able to go back in, adjust those price and adjust those dates, and then it will, for all future payments, it will then readjust accordingly. Simplified editing and deleting and making it more flexible. So yeah, that's all good. I mean,
yeah, the ability to also changing the payment structure as well. So you could be spread over 12 months, but have that first one at like $5,000 and it works out the rest of it and stuff like that. It's quite, especially like project work and things. If you like deferring projects, having a big upfront fee and being right, that first one's X and then split the rest. That was quite key, I think, for the changes. Because
most insurance policies are like that these days.
Exactly.
It's a slightly bigger first payment, and then everything else is. So the fact that it now can handle that is really good.
Do you think it's still a problem that it can only do future transactions? Is that still what you'd expect, or do you think there needs to be flexibility where it can go back and redo future ones, past transactions?
You should be able to put in a historic date for loads of things in QuickBooks, for recurring transactions, for this, for all sorts of things. You need to be able to start it in the past. There is no reason why it doesn't do that. I cannot think of a reason.
And because clients don't give us that information straight away. By the time we get around to that information, or the client gets around to giving us that insight and information, we could be weeks or a month or something down the line. And now I've got to do a manual bit, and which defeats the object of the tool pretty much anyway. So unless you
wouldn't maybe want to do that. Yeah, the only time you might want to do is if it doesn't fit, like jumps across a year end that you've already closed. That might be the only time I'd say you'd stop it. But like you say, if you received an invoice today and it was dated 1st of December and it's in your year, why shouldn't you be able to defer that? That bit didn't make sense.
That would be easy, because it would, if it was posting historical dates, it would post it like any other transaction. And if that historical date had been prior to the closure date, then it won't let you, just as if you edited or created any other transaction. So very easy to prevent that.
Yeah, agreed. The other update is to Advance as well, and they're bringing in something called forecasting. Well, I know what forecasting is, but I'm intrigued how they're going to change that from budgeting, how they're going to define what a budget is and a forecast is, and how they're going to differentiate between the two. But it says, in a nutshell, get clear insight on your client's financial future with forecasting in QuickBooks Online Advance. With the new feature, you and your clients can create a profit and loss forecast of up to 3 years right in QuickBooks. This saves you from your clients from having to spend manually exporting data into spreadsheets or outside forecasting tools. I can show you a real sneak preview of it, but that's all I've got.
The P&L, which is not.
I was just going to say,
but isn't that what the budgeting tool does? What am I missing here that you can't achieve on the budget?
I'm guessing a budget is, this is what we're planning to do, but then the forecast is looking back on your actuals and then redoing that. I think that's what they're going to go with.
Yeah, and I suppose here it's got.
I imagine it's doing what Futurely does, since Futurely being bought by Sage. I imagine they're looking at.
But it's missing that bit like a Fathom would do, which is a three-way forecast. Is that you're doing your P&L?
Because you'd want to forecast the balance sheet, you'd want to forecast the cash flow and the P&L. And all right, they've got a cash flow tool already, but if they're going to bring in forecasts, which is great, I imagine that's going to scrap budgets, because technically that forecast is setting the budget.
Unless
or can we populate the budget with the forecast? And can those then power the cash flow tool?
Because cash flow tool at the moment is based on bank. If you've got a bank feed, isn't it, as well?
Yeah.
Which
that's all it looks at.
That's not a cash flow.
Yeah, depending
Well,
on
the
who
cash
you're
flow is
talking
looking
to.
at live data. So if you've got sales invoices with a due date of 2 months, 1 month, or whatever it is, that's what the cash flow is looking at. Whereas you wouldn't want your budget to change, so you still need the budget, which is what you set at, let's say, at the beginning of the year.
Yeah,
you might be reporting this.
The problem is, like, I could make a forecast. It has absolutely no bearing on real life, as it were.
Yeah.
What really matters is I don't care how great I've done £1 million worth of sales. I'm going to do £1 million worth of sales in February, but that doesn't help me unless that money's in the bank. So when is that money coming into my bank account to pay these bills that are also coming up, and when are they due? So you need that freeway forecasting, because it doesn't matter the amount of clients I talk to where they go, "Oh, this is the plan." It's like, great, but that's not what's going to happen in your bank account.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it's actually the bank account bit that they relate to. So if we're going to be doing forecasting, we need to be able to power the cash flow off the back of it.
Definitely.
And that forecasting then needs to pull through either into budgeting, which then pulls into the reporting. So yeah, we have a forecasting session. We plan the forecast. That then creates our cash flow. Can we see any problems? No, great. And then it goes into the budget, which then powers the reporting comparisons for us to go, how are we doing compared to budget?
Because when QBOA first came out, that had Fathom in the States.
In the States,
it had
yeah,
Fathom
exactly.
integrated with it. Obviously, that's not there anymore. So is this the start of?
Yeah,
I don't want to say rebuilding Fathom from the ground up within QuickBooks, but basically, is this the start of what's?
This is their home solution to replace the dependency on someone else.
Yeah.
Because it's like the reports feature.
A really useful tool to put into Advance. I think it's a pretty vital tool. But exactly, I completely agree with you, Johan. It needs to have the 3, or some people talk about 4. I'm not quite sure, can't remember what the 4th one is. But it needs to have the 3-way forecasting, P&L, balance sheet, cash flow. There's a 4th one.
I think because if this is them trying to do that forecasting element of Fathom and other known softwares, Futurely, SIF Analytics, whoever, then we know what they're doing with the new reporting, and we know what their goal and aspirations are there. So actually, that whole thing does start to give you a better solution that maybe you don't need a third party involved anymore. Now, it's not going to do everything the third parties do, because the third parties are specialists in this area. But if it can knock off 50% of what it does, so a majority of your clients no longer need a third party, then great, we're saving some money.
Yeah, 100% agree.
Yeah, and it's more efficient, isn't it? It's not just saving money. Having everything. I know we're going to touch on it later about 2024. I think we're going to see more and more things like this being in product, and less of the mass. In some cases, great big app stacks.
Yeah. And when you think of AI and what AI can do, then if it's all in one product, it's going to be more powerful and more useful, right? And that's
Intuit Assist powering the forecasting and the budgeting and the reporting tools. Yes, please. Have a bit of that. How's Zero's AI getting on? Oh, wait.
Zero of it. So there is a new...
I would just quickly throw in, if I may, Aaron, if they are building more and more of these tools, and I think that's a really good idea, to have a client user role that just looks at that. So you can give to certain users within the client who only want to see these reports that you're creating, don't want to be confused by the menus. They're never going to enter data. They're never anything else like that. So you can give them a simpler, in the same way that when they log into a Futurely dashboard or a Fathom dashboard, they're only seeing what they want to see. So I would say to Intuit, I applaud where this appears to be going, but can we please have the ability to create a user role within the client that only sees those kind of reports, because those users probably only ever want to see those.
I think that's coming. I think with more granular things they're adding in for the report, they've got granular users, but they're still not as granular as I've given them feedback. They're not as granular as you want them to be. You've got people moving from we've seen it lots. They're moving from Sage 50 to QuickBooks, for instance. Sage 50's granular user levels are on just a different level. Down to every single individual button, which you wouldn't get at that level until you go to like a mid-market solution. So if they're slow, they've got some of it, but if they can build that out a bit more, then likewise there. You say, right, this report is for managers, and anyone with the manager role gets that report. Then go back to your roles that you were saying in your users. Actually, that might be useful if it was that.
Yeah, and it definitely makes that advanced product more advanced, right? And that's what differentiates then. And that would be a reason for people to upgrade if they could just go, right, I can get my team to do X, Y, Z, which I couldn't have before because I couldn't expose them to all that data or whatever the reason's going to be. So,
or you're moving up a jump. It's quite big, still a big jump between a QuickBooks Online and something in that mid-market. It's not going to ever be, QuickBooks Online isn't going to be like a full-on blown mid-market ERP. I don't think it's ever going to be that, but a few little bits that they're adding to there just to bridge the gap, to not make it such a big jump that could keep you ticking over for 1-2 years as you carry on growing before you have to make that leap to something else.
Yeah, completely agree. In the US, they're bringing a new SKU. So how many too many SKUs? I'll hear you ask. So they're bringing QuickBooks Solopreneur. It's all been announced. So in a I'm not sure about the name yet, but in a nutshell, solopreneurs are one-person businesses like sole proprietors or single-member LLCs, and basically goes on to say that they include improved features, new tools to help drive growth, simplify user interface, and a redesigned transaction management tool that scares me in QuickBooks Solopreneur. Automatically separate business and personal transactions using determined categories for easy review. And then it goes on to say that the benefits of this over QuickBooks Self-Employed is the fact that they'll have access to QuickBooks Tax and Live Tax and all the stuff in the US, Pro Tax and everything else that goes with it. And then it goes to talk about the difference between QuickBooks Ledger and Solopreneur. But in a nutshell, QuickBooks Ledger is for just accountants to use. Solopreneur is about those smallest of small clients going forward. So does this mean the end of QuickBooks Self-Employed, or is this a brand new SKU?
I've got a question. Do any of you actually use QuickBooks Self-Employed?
I do. I like it, but
I've got a couple of clients on it.
That's my opinion of it. Why not just give them a simple start or a essential? That's always my opinion.
Before COVID, I was fairly happy with Self-Employed. It's like so many clients were fine with, and would have always been fine. But when COVID then happened, all of a sudden we had people that would never needed a balance sheet in all their lives, because apart from a bank account on it, suddenly had a loan, and they would have never have borrowed ever in their business journey, because no one would have lent to them if it wasn't for the COVID loans and the bounce back loans and stuff. And all of a sudden we had a huge amount of clients whose software wasn't fit for purpose, and that was my pain point. Does Solopreneur have a balance sheet?
Can you upgrade Solopreneur?
You can upgrade Solopreneur. That's the beauty of it, is you'll start with it and you can upgrade nicely. So that pain point's now technically gone. Start off on Solopreneur, then we'll go up to Simple Start, then you go VAT registered. Great.
Then you go on to Simple Start, and does Simple Start just become Solopreneur?
I think
Self-Employed's going to come. I think Solopreneur replaces.
I think they need one or the other. I don't think they need
Simple Start
or Solopreneur or vice versa.
Simple Start still has a place, right? Because that's your entry level to VAT. That's always what it's supposed to be, right? So, and this one won't have VAT.
I think, so we've got Solopreneur or Self-Employed. I think Solopreneur will replace Self-Employed because it's a more modern term. We like solopreneurs. That seems to be the catchy term at the moment. That's great if you just need a P&L and that's it. If you start needing a balance sheet, then you go to Simple Start, because you might need a balance sheet before you get to VAT registration. Then you become VAT registered. Well, that bumps you into Essentials.
So you say take VAT out of Simple Start.
VAT's already out of Simple Start.
No, it's not.
No, it's still there.
It's still there.
I thought VAT had been taken out of Simple Start.
No, not in the UK. Although not in the US anyway, is it VAT? But no, Simple Start has VAT, and that's kind of your starting point. Is do you want to be VAT registered or not? Self-employed or Simple Start?
Okay. I could have sworn VAT was taken out of Simple Start.
No, it's still there.
Okay.
Still there. it definitely was. I mean, I think it was muted around,
You
wasn't
just
it?
have
A
a
bit
purchase ledger, do you? So it's kind of like it's on like a cash basis more than anything else.
purely cash, isn't it? Yeah.
But yeah, I would have no issues with clients carrying on using self-employed if it was the right tool for the job. The pain point is the upgrading to the next package. Because once you've got them onto Simple Start, it's so easy to go Simple Start. Right, now we go to Essentials, then we go to Plus, then we go to Advanced.
Yeah.
It's there for the journey at a click of a button. Love that. The pain point was moving them from self-employed to Simple Start when actually they're a really low value client to start with. So you don't want to take on any extra work. So yeah, we always advise Simple Start because we knew we didn't have a day lost moving all the data and retraining a low value client from one user interface to another.
Yep.
So question on that then, if Solopreneur is going to have this new transaction view, which I assume they're going to want to borrow from QuickBooks Self-Employed, because one of the strengths of QuickBooks Self-Employed is it's so much more simpler than your typical account, your typical QuickBooks view with having full review, reviewed, and everything else. Do you then need to have an access so that in Simple Start Essentials that they can go back to that old view, or do you say that if you go from Solopreneur to Simple Start, you have to learn the new view?
Then we're starting to go back into this business versus accountant mode, which you don't want to do.
Exactly.
I think you want one view to rule them all, just for that.
But can you have the current view in Solopreneur?
Is
that not too complicated? Because that's I've got people who
unless they change the mobile app, are most of these solopreneurs
just going to do mobile?
Just going to do mobile, and therefore the mobile app has the new cleaner view. Because I don't think many big businesses use that app. I'll be honest.
No,
that are using QuickBooks. They'll still do it browser based. But actually, the solopreneurs, if the app is the place they want, that would make sense. And then if they go via desktop, make it the same as everyone else. But that app is different.
Agreed. I think
that's the end. Yep.
Okay. Although they do state they have the redesigned transaction management tool. So that sounds to me like it's not the old view, right? But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Right. Okay. Wow. Didn't expect to spend that much time on the updates. Another quick update, just so everyone's aware. Monzo, just like Starlin, has pots and everything else and all that sort of stuff. The same feed that we currently enjoy in Starlin, where we can completely get rid of the pot situation, is coming to Monzo very, very soon, and we're very excited. Played around with it, works a treat, as you expected. Just going to make your life easier, right? So it looks like if you have got clients on Monzo, get them upgraded to the new feed when it's available. Right, predictions time. Simon, we'll start with you. You're new. So the idea here of this predictions is we're going to predict for 2024 what we believe QuickBooks should be releasing, or what it should look like, or what we want to see in the world of QuickBooks going forward. It's like, just so everyone knows, we won't obviously be talking about stuff we already know about. We'll completely stay away from that. We're just going to tinfoil hat it and everything going from there. So, Simon, take it away.
What would I like to see so far? I'd like some trickle down from Advanced to Plus eventually. Whether that will happen or not, I don't know. But also, I think we've already touched on it. More things being in Advanced. We know, obviously, we're not going to touch on things that are already there or we know are coming. But, you know, if we can do, I don't think this has been, I can't remember if it has been said or not. We've obviously got deferred revenue. Can we have deferred, and start doing those accruals, those prepayments, that side of things on that side? Then you've got sort of a proper low mid-market sort of platform. I think those are the two things. And then some of the bits trickle down, whatever they may be. It might be the workflows, for instance, because you've got people in. So things like, approval processes, that's in Advanced. But actually, quite a lot of people in Plus don't need everything else in Advanced. They just might want that approval. And at the moment, they're having to go, oh, we need approval max, or we need this, or we do it via emails. And so a little bit trickle down, maybe, would be quite nice, I think.
Especially, I think, with that, when you compare it to Zero, because that's one of the few things where definitely I still have to push people to Zero, because they're approvals are so important to them, right?
Yeah.
So that could be a decision maker going through from there.
And just actually bet on that front, even if you are using something like Approval Max, better integrations with those third parties. I mean, we use all platforms, and the Approval Max, taking them as an example, with integration to Xero is a million times better than the one to QuickBooks, and is able to do better things. So improving that, maybe it's that improving that relationship with the third parties, or making I know the API is a lot easier to use now than it used to be, you know, and that might, maybe it was just waiting for that more than anything else.
Well, it needs updating, doesn't it? The APIs, it's not been updated for was it 3 years now or something? Yeah,
that's my big wish, is significant time and resources spent on the API, because that would just make everyone's life so much easier. It would make the potential power of third-party softwares even greater, whereas they're all quite limited. And what firms can do through an API with Sage or Xero or Free Agent is different to what they can do with QuickBooks. Now, I know QuickBooks want to do this all in one approach, and that's great, but they're never going to be best in class in every single feature. And so that they can talk better to best in class features, we need a better API.
Yeah.
It's quite common, you know, we speak to a lot of third parties, oh yeah, we integrate with Xero. Well, yes, that's great. But if all your clients run Xero, and like we try to look at apps that are across the board. So if it just integrates Xero, we're probably just going to say thanks, but no thanks for the time being, potentially, unless there's something really like pressing.
There is a reason for that.
Yeah.
And that is that Xero is seen as the modern tech-forward software that early adopters use. And they're the people that the new apps want to pick up first and get those early adopters in. So that's a branding problem.
Yeah.
Do you think though, with Xero's new pricing structure on apps, so that's going to change?
Yes. Yeah. It already is.
Yeah.
The last 3-4 months is more. Yeah.
Xero is the only one that charges for their API, and I think that's going to be a real headache for them in the future. They think they're Apple. They think they can dictate terms, and they're sadly mistaken. Like, it's their users that are going to suffer, because, you know, like Client Engager, we're passing that on as a bolt-on. If you want to connect to Xero, that incurs a cost for us, so you're going to pay it. We're not going to stomach it just because you chose to use Xero. Like, and that's how Xero wants to behave. That's their choice. But at some point, there's going to be something that breaks the camel's back there. Like, a lot of the Xero users have said, yeah, all right, we get it. It's Xero. We're not surprised. And that kind of makes you think, what kind of reputation have you got if there's another cost? Oh, of course it is. It's Xero. Like, how long is that sustainable when no one else is doing it?
Yeah, makes sense, doesn't it? And they're definitely not Apple, because if they were Apple, we'd be more interested, right? Charlie, what was your prediction?
They'd have a development team if they were Apple.
I think mine is sort of covering what we've been talking about, maybe taking it a bit further. I mean, I think if Intuit are moving into the space, and they seem to be, which is probably a good idea, of trying to do what a lot of the third-party apps have been doing, whether that's receipt capture type stuff, whether that's reporting type stuff, all those different things. I guess it's back to what I was commenting on earlier, the ability to give certain users the ability to only do the features that they need to do.
Okay.
Because I have a number of clients where they don't want to give staff access to stuff because they've got too much info. Either it's too complicated for the staff, it's too much information, or it's too confidential and they don't want to give them access to stuff. So it's down to narrowing down the parameters of what people can do and making it easier for them to do it. Some of them will want to do it on the phone app, though I don't have many clients who use it at the moment, but if it were better, maybe they would. That's probably my wish at the moment, based on where they seem to be going.
Yeah,
I'm going to stand up with the phone app here, because I've been doing a bit of a test myself, right? So I've got a limited company. That's my limited company. Very basic company. It's limited. Money goes out. Money comes in. Like, it's got various. I raise invoices every now and then. I deal with my expenses. I've never logged into the web platform for it. I've done it all through the app on my phone. And to be fair, it's fantastic. It's dead simple. It's easy. No problems at all. So for the right business people, like people that use Free Agent, actually the QBO app is probably all they need. You know, that niche of consultants, people that have maybe half a dozen invoices a month, maybe 20 or 30 expenses a month, absolutely spot on.
So does that mean that you would be a solopreneur user?
Depends. Does solopreneur cover a limited company?
You'd expect, well, if it covers a one-person LLC,
it's a self-employed sole trader job.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
where
I would argue a solopreneur is, whether it's limited or sole trader. A solopreneur is someone that runs a business on their own.
Correct.
And it sounds like the American one is covering numerous business models, whereas self-employed in the UK is only sole trader.
Yeah.
The only thing you'll have is probably that VAT issue, so it won't.
Just going to say, right? I tell a lie because I have logged in to file my VAT returns. But
you could have your accountant could have done that for you, right? You didn't have to do that.
Oh yeah,
in a real world, you can find an accountant.
With a good accountant. Yeah.
Can you not file the VAT return from the app?
No.
No.
You can't even see it from the app, to be fair.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. So my prediction or my want for 2024, and it's really been coming from this past couple of weeks of just having so much more work needed to be done and wanting to get things done quicker and everything else. I want that improvement of communication with clients within. So one of the best features that went under the radar, but I think went under the radar because it wasn't fully fleshed out, was client requests. So that's the idea that if you have an issue in QuickBooks, you can click a button instead of having to go and write down the date and the amount and all that sort of transactional data. You click the transaction itself, then you can present that to the client and ask the question that you need to answer. At the moment, it's in quite a limited place. It's hidden away in business books review, which is probably the reason why not many people use it. It's probably the reason it's never had any major updates to it. But if they could expand that functionality and put it into the banking area, for example, which I believe Xero has some type of functionality. It's like
disgusting.
That sort of thing. Just be able to go tick, 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 send, ask the client what these are, or give me these receipts.
It is powerful because SIF Analytics introduced it 2 months ago. They introduced a tool like that, and my team have been all over it. Like that. But the difference is it fires through from your email address. So it doesn't look hard. It doesn't look like marketing or anything like that. Or a funny email address. And they thought it through, like, not only can you tick it, and it puts it in a link, and you can have a few different templates to make life explaining it a bit easier. Like, I'm asking for explaining what these transactions are, or I'm asking you, I know what the transactions are, but I want to check where you want me to categorize them, or I want you to check what the sales tax or VAT was on it. So they've got that, but then they go, do you want it in a table on the email? Do you want it on, or do you want it in an Excel spreadsheet, or do you want both? And do you want a link to view it on a window?
The transaction itself.
Fantastic. Yeah, and it's like fantastic. Like, that's how it should be done. QuickBooks started this years ago, and they could be so far ahead with it if they just kept pushing it and developing it, and they haven't.
But I feel like it's not been developed because no one's using it, and the reason no one's using it is because it's hidden away in a place that no one knows about it, right?
It's like
it was really when it came out as well, wasn't it? It wasn't. You couldn't really do a request. It was like it was a really random way of doing it. I think it's the whole thing of if something doesn't work at the beginning, do you revisit it that often?
That's it. Most people you're kind of burnt then, aren't you? You know it didn't work, so yeah.
And am I right in thinking that when you do a request through QuickBooks, you've got to log into QuickBooks and answer the questions there, and then Whereas in SIF Analytics, I'm sending a spreadsheet. They're putting the data on the spreadsheet and they're resending it to me. It's pain-free for the client. There's no logging in, nothing like that. If they don't want to, they can just go. They can look at the email and either type out an email as a reply, or they can attach, like, put in notes in the Excel sheet and return it to me. But it takes the pain points away.
Yeah,
and
That's a good thing
until
about the
that, yeah,
it's sent them on their mobile app.
that,
Yeah.
if they put the requests into the mobile app, spot on.
Then there would be a reason to give every client the mobile app.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
we're seeing a return rate of e-signings in pickup no end because we've got our client portal on a mobile app.
Yeah.
Like, we know clients don't sit at their laptops and their desks all day, every day, waiting for us. They're out and about, they're doing their job, they're cutting hair, they're building walls, whatever they're doing. So they need it on a mobile app, not sat in their inbox, waiting for them to log in on the browser to deal with it later.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And I think if they can get those fundamentals done and put it onto the mobile app and people start using it, then we can start seeing what else we can do with it. Because how easy or how powerful would it be going into a client file that you only see once a year because that's all they pay you to do, and you just send a message going, oh, can you make sure tick, 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 this, and this is reconciled, and then we can get your books done or something. And we can give them almost a checklist that we
Sending
can
a VAT
dictate.
return for approval.
Yeah.
A little bit like as easy as that. Exactly.
Yeah,
And
like
that
at the moment, I'm downloading.
Trickle down thing from Advance is actually, can we put an approval workflow in for that?
Yeah.
We create the VAT return rather than us downloading as a PDF, saving it here, attaching to an email, sending it off. Just go send for approval.
Yeah. Like,
Similar to
we
the
don't
way
send it on an
employment
email.
period
That's
does.
a bit insecure, but we download it, we upload it into a portal, we send it for e-signing. Like, it's a painful process, whichever way you do it.
Yeah.
Whereas if you go, I'm happy with that on the VAT review tool, send to client for approval, off, done.
Yeah,
like advanced payroll does. You can just get that approved in app.
Yep.
And it even just runs it then, right? And you could have the same client doesn't need to know it, but as soon as they've approved it, it just gets sent. Like, there's no reason why we then need to go back into it to go and press the submit button. And
absolutely. And we get an email telling us that it's happened.
Yeah. Although the MTD user right thing is a pain, isn't it? But as long as
that is true,
that bit, then it's fine.
Yeah.
But if it comes back to you and submits it as the accountant user, that should get around that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no,
although you've got
absolutely.
to tick a box, haven't you, to say you're happy at these, because you press submit, then you have to tick a disclaimer.
So
the client could tick that at that point, they couldn't they, to say they're happy, or we could have ticked it when we sent it for approval, right?
Yeah.
So
just a change in that flow, isn't it? Because that's one of that's the big thing around the big difference between the Xero way and the QuickBooks way of doing the returns is you can do a return if you haven't got the connection in QuickBooks. Xero is very much you need to be connected to generate a return.
VAT reports. Never mind it. Like, a client rang me the other day, said, "Yeah, can you tell me what my VAT is?" It's like, I can't. I can get one of my team members to. What do you mean? It's like, well, I technically can't actually see your VAT report because I'm associated to two different practices, and you're in that practice and I'm not, and that's not where my MTD permission is. Like, that's just beyond the joke. But if a bit of tweaking, and it's another low value 5-10 minute job dealt with.
And imagine the client requests sitting in work papers. Like, I don't know how much you've started to use work paper, but we love work papers and it needs work, and definitely there's places where it needs to be improved on. But for now, it's a brilliant tool. It's so much better than what we were using before. And if we could just click on a few buttons there and say, request the loan statement for this, or whatever it's going to be, directly from there, that would improve that process even more, right? And that's,
if not work papers, practice management. Because obviously we might be using practice management, but we wouldn't be using work papers, for instance. So having the request sit in practice manager as like the communication, all your communications are in there, then that would be even better.
Yeah.
And in fact, that's probably another thing, is it information from QuickBooks flowing to practice manager?
I mean, that'd be the dream, right?
Right, okay. Update the workflow status in practice manager that I've done the back return. Those little bits of automation that are like quick wins, aren't they? Oh, I can see you filed the back return. I'll update your workflow to say you filed it.
And are we being too selfish, or not selfish isn't the right word, but are we being too thing to say that that's what our expectation was with QuickBooks Practice Manager from day one. Like that's
I would think if you've got workflows, you've got an accounting tool, and your workflows, let's just say VAT, or even like do the bank rec, those dates are logged in QuickBooks. It should be able to pull that information.
Of course.
Yeah, that's what we expected
Have
from.
that fully,
yeah.
Isn't that
that's where the advantage of having a practice management tool built into the bookkeeping software supposedly arises. Because if you've got to do it manually, if you've got to tell the PM tool that you've done the VAT return or you've done the bank rec, you might as well do it in the third-party tool. There's no point of being internal. You could use something like that.
That's the whole point, isn't it, of having the big all-in-one place. Like Sage have got their proposal to accountant. I can't remember what it's called, but the practice manager bit. And then they've got the accounts at the end. It all flows through.
Yeah.
And that's the obviously Xero have then sort of done something similar, sort of with Xero HQ and Xero Tax and etc. etc. That's where it's got to all flow through together and be one place where everything sits for it to work properly.
And I know over time that's what they want and that's what they'll get, but it's almost like for them to get that big buy-in from it, that was almost minimal expectation, wasn't it? And that's not been hit at this point. So,
and have they got the time before the competition around them outpaces them? And you're so embedded into everything else, and that competition's features are so much further along that actually what they're doing to try and catch up is just not good enough.
Yeah, I mean, I know you're not talking about Bright Manager there because they don't issue updates. But yeah.
It's interesting. It'd be interesting to watch, I think, because seeing how
there's a huge potential there, isn't there? Of what
there
it
is,
could do.
And their main competition is in that space is Xero, isn't it? Let's just not beat about the bushes. And Sage are coming back. I'll give them their due. Sage, well, if we sat here 5 years ago, we said, yeah, don't talk about Sage again. But they've turned it around and are coming back. And they've got the money to do it. QuickBooks got the money to do it. Xero have got the money to do it. It just needs that. Yeah, we'll pull up. They have the money, just where they want to spend it. But
Xero haven't got the money. They're skint.
Someone has the money. But if they put it in the right place, the money, then they could do the sort of things. Just focus the money in the right place where people are asking for things to be improved rather than just a thing they think is quite nice.
Agreed. Okay, so predictions going forward was, Simon, you want more stuff coming from QuickBooks Advanced to trickle down into.
I've got loads. I've got another one now, but let's not carry on. Yeah,
I mean, you could add the other one if you want to add the other one.
What was it called? Trade Gecko, QuickBooks Commerce. Let's have that back on.
Please bring that back. Yeah, please. That was such a painful. It was just the way it was mishandled in the UK, wasn't it? The fact that it just shut down one day, didn't tell us.
Sorry, were you using
a good product? And it was like, oh, you bought it, amazing. It's going to be in QuickBooks, and then it was like, oh, it's dead. You own it, but do something with it. It was such a good product for the
I get the logic of grabbing the data or grabbing the functionality, and like you've said already about improving QuickBooks Advanced, if they just, gave 50% of the functionality into QuickBooks Advanced, instant buyout for people, isn't it? Yeah. And also you get feature parity, what QuickBooks Desktop used to do, which those poor guys have still left in the lurch from, right? So if that would have worked and they just grabbed it, put it into QuickBooks, 100%. But that wasn't and hasn't happened, has it? And that's the disappointment, isn't it, of it going forward? So do you think that's likely to happen in 2024? Do you think that's a 25, 26,
I think 27? It might be 25.
Worry, isn't it?
All those because all that, we could talk about that all day, but I think maybe 24 might be pushing it.
Yeah, it's just, but when realistically we need it, because even in the US they've told them that they're going to sunset QuickBooks Desktop, haven't they? So they're going to be in the lurch.
Just in the US, that's a big thing. Massive.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Yeah. Let's hope. Let's fingers crossed. Any more predictions as we come to time? We're good. Cool. Well, we'll see what happens in the world of 2024. Well, that is it then. That's been an episode of QuickBooks Labs. Thanks again for all the questions, all the people commenting as we go along. As always, it's been brilliant to listen to your feedback. Thanks again for everyone who has come along and bringing all our guests that have been here today. So give you a chance to go around the room and promote yourself. Charlie, do you want to go first? Where can they find you? Anything that people should be aware of, or things you're trying to do? Anything else? Plug. Go for it.
Yeah, I would just encourage anybody who's not a member already, join me on the Facebook group, QuickBooks Online Accountant Facebook group, where we can have discussions for QuickBooks Pro advisors, ask questions, make comments, and it's a very, very interactive discussion group on Facebook. Come and find us.
Yeah, certainly. It was very active with recent news, wasn't it? But we won't go into that on this show. But yeah, very active last weekend. Simon, do you want to plug away? Anything you want to push? Anything you want to talk about?
There's nothing I really want to push. They can find me on LinkedIn. That's my only source of work social media. So yeah, drop me a follow on there, and I might do some random posts now and again. But yeah, find me on there.
Love it. Nice one. Johan, you've got 10 minutes. Tell us where to find
MySpace, Bebo.
Yeah. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on YouTube. Find me on Instagram and TikTok, which apparently I'm going to be doing more on, both Instagram and TikTok. I didn't know this until today, but apparently I am. So yeah, just reach out and get in touch if you've got any questions, or if you want to ask my opinion on anything.
That's one.
And of course, every Monday morning, Ask the Accountant. Join us live.
Good. I'm glad you keep bringing that up, because I forget to bring that in. Yeah, exactly. So thanks again to everyone who has come along. Thanks to everyone who's been on the panel. We will see you next time. You're going to have to keep an eye on socials, because we should be doing first Wednesday of the month, but that might not be quite good. In fact, no, I know what we're doing. We've already planned ahead on this one. There is a little event going called QuickBooks. Let's get this right. QuickBooks Get Connected London.
Yep.
Yeah. Got to make sure we get that right. QuickBooks Get Connected London is happening, and we're going to try and get this podcast to be the day after of the event itself, so that we can talk about everything that's hopefully going to be announced, all the stuff that's happened. We'll give you a bit of feedback. Hopefully all four of us can be on there, maybe in person as well. We'll see how that goes. Me and Johan have already been booked to be there in person as well. We are going to be at the event, and we're going to be giving you tips and tricks on the world of QuickBooks. So come along to our little booth and talk to us and ask questions as we go along. So dates wise is, can someone tell me, is it 27th of February?
27th.
27th of February in London, in the Woolwich area, isn't it? So jump on the DLR, or actually no, you can do. Can you do the Elizabeth line now? You can, can't you?
Here we go.
Elizabeth, yeah, it's Woolwich. Yeah, Elizabeth line. Elizabeth line to Woolwich.
So you get
Aaron,
the
tube expert. That'll get you stuck everywhere.
Yeah, maybe not following my thing, but yeah, no, jump on the tube, get yourself to Woolwich on the 27th. We'll love to see you there, and if you can't, though, we'll talk all about it the day after. So we're hoping for some announcements. Fingers crossed, this should be something you'd have thought that gets announced. Who knows? Maybe QuickBooks Solopreneur. Brilliant. All right, everyone, thank you very much again, and we will see you all next one as I scramble to run the outro. Bye for now. Cheers, everyone.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Yeah.
As an accountant, I've got something to say. I'd like to introduce you to a whole new way to help small business clients. It's easy as 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. QuickBooks Online. Accounting you can customize. Just sit back and relax. It works with over 300 apps. It can sync up with
Client Engager, NetTracker, Gold Card List, Get Paid Easily, Cresco,
you'll get paid instantly.
Swoop,
Labs tracks your
Funding Options,
QuickBooks Online. QuickBooks Online. And save money and time.
QuickBooks Labs.